This episode is brought to you by Curriculum Rehab by us, the team here at Brave New Teaching. It is the first and only teacher PD of its kind, a course to help teachers like you by guiding you through creating your own personal framework for curriculum. You make it work for you, your students, and your unique situation because nobody else knows what the kiddos in your classroom need the way that you do. Curriculum Rehab takes all of the resources available to you, all of the lessons, the assessments, the activities, all of the texts, everything that could possibly be there for you, and it helps you organize what you actually need in order to attain your teaching objectives. These are the strategies that Amanda and myself have used in our own classrooms, have developed over very long years of teaching and figuring things out, combined together to create this framework and these strategies that we can guide you through. This course will give you the tools you need for a complete curriculum overhaul or to start from scratch. Wherever you are on that continuum, it does it all for you and with you on your timeline. So start today, do a little bit more in a couple of months, and then pick it up next summer. It's Teacher PD the way it should be on your own time. Head to curriculumrehab.com/course for more information, or just head to the show notes for this episode. We cannot wait to see you there. It's finally time to take control of what goes on in your own classroom and create the curriculum of your dreams. All right, let's get back into the show. Well, hello and welcome back to Brave New Teaching. Hello, Amanda.
Well, hey, how's it going, Marie?
I caught her. Hey, everybody. I caught her mid-sip of some coffee. And did I see what I was doing? Yes. Did I keep doing it? Yes, because that's the kind of friend I am.
But can I slow down? I'm using the Starbucks pumpkin spice creamer in my coffee, and it's like just enough. I like pumpkin spice, but usually when I order them, they're like, it's just too much.
Oh, it's too much. Even that. Okay, so fun fact. My dad was, getting ready to take the kids to school the other morning because that's what he does. He opened up my refrigerator and saw that I had the exact same pumpkin spice latte creamer. And the look that my father gave me was like, oh, you're just leaning into it now. I was like,
wow. Your dad is a nice guy, but that is judgmental.
But that's it. That's the dry sense of humor, man. I have to kind of like cut it though with some plain half and half. It's too much for me.
It's a lot.
But I like it. Like I want the hint without like the overpower. Also, so this is all very thematic to what we're talking about today. We're talking about 100%. Gothic fiction.
100%.
We have some very cool new ideas for you all when it comes to Gothic fiction. Even if that's not something that you teach in your classroom, like here's some reading for you for the fall. If the heat would ever break and it would feel like fall, we're just going to pretend it is. Amanda's got on her sweatshirt that has ghosts reading all of their books.
Obviously.
It's just, we've got our, pumpkin spice creamer. Don't tell my dad, because apparently that is not allowed. And we are ready to share some new texts for you. We did a roundup like this years ago, like first season of the podcast.
Yes.
Maybe.
And it's really good.
It is. It's really good. And it's just time for some more new, fresh ideas so you can pumpkin spice it up.
Oh, she just did it. Your mom's totally going to tell your dad because your mom's listening.
Oh, no. So's my dad. Hi, Dad.
Your dad's listening too?
Oh, yeah.
What a supportive team.
It's a full BNT family. My cousin's listening. She makes her baby listen.
I wear my shirt. I wear my shirt, my San Diego BNT shirt all the time. So
it's great. Everybody join the fam. If you're not already part of happy hour, you get even more of this. Arms wide open, everybody.
Oh, is that a Creed reference?
It wasn't until you made it one. So thanks. Friends.
Okay.
Listen,
we need to share our examples, right? Should we share ours?
Well, but first Amanda, have you done a podcast before? We need to do our opening credits. Okay, friends. Yes, we both have. We're getting a little punchy. We both have a couple of texts to share with you as well. But first, cue the music.
You're listening to Brave New Teaching, and we are so much more than a podcast.
We give teachers the inspiration, support, and tools to challenge the status quo.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a former English teacher from Illinois.
And I'm Marie, and I'm a teacher from Southern California.
Join us at bravenewteaching.com to find out more about our courses, festivals, and get every episode's show notes.
We're so glad you're here. Enjoy the show. She's so excited, everybody. So let's let Amanda get started. Amanda.
Stop it.
No, I won't. What do you have to share with us today?
Okay. So I don't know what took me so long to kind of like connect the dots here, but we talked 1 or 2 seasons ago about our short story unit, and Marie talked a lot about the way that she's kind of re-scripted that short story unit to talk about fairy tales, and instead of just kind of doing disconnected textbook short story, dot 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 dot, which a lot of us have had to do or only had access to that for a while, Marie kind of redid that and did a unit makeover using fairy tales. And it kind of crossed my mind the other day when I was talking to one of my teachers that I coach, and she is looking at fractured fairy tales and twisted fairy tales. And she shared with me this text. So our whole episode, right, the goal today is to share with you a list of fresh, new-ish authors and texts and stories to add to your Gothic Halloween archive. At this point, I don't know if she's committed or not, but I talked to our very good friend Ashley Bible about this. I mean, she gave me the dirtiest look when I told her she can't do Poe. I mean, if looks could kill, I said, Ashley, it's nothing against Poe, but we already have done that, and we want to share new things with teachers. And she's still like the death stare did not budge. So I don't know if Ashley will join us or not, but we'll see. But we wanted to give you some things you could pair with your favorite Poe, or you could do, right? Like I just read The Teacher by Frida McFadden, which I know we don't all have Frida McFadden's fans here, but like the teacher in this story, right? His favorite poet is Poe, and like these like raven images come. It's like a fresh like murder mystery, but like there's this echo of Poe, which is lovely. So like have your Poe echo, and then here are your modern options.
Well, here's some more contemporary, just to like, it's also to show students. I mean, part of it is also that we want to help our students see how things that are classic and very well known and widely done are such contemporary influences for good reason. It's the same idea that we have with Shakespeare. Okay, sorry, keep going.
So mine is a short story by Cynthia Pelayo. I have just went on like a Cynthia Pelayo Amazon spree, just looking through everything that she has because I was so kind of fascinated by this short story that I found. Well, I didn't find that the teacher shared with me and that I read about. And I really like it. So the short story is called The Cottage. There are a lot of things called The Cottage. So when you search for it, or I guess we can link it in the show notes too, by Cynthia Pelayo, it is the story of Hansel and Gretel from the witch's point of view.
Cool.
Right. And like, so the woman I coached, she was like, yeah, it reminds me of Stone Blind when we were talking about like Medusa, like the story of Medusa from Medusa's point of view. I'll read you the opening 2 lines to see if this is like hooking you enough. So it starts, "This is your curse too. And the only way to break it is to make it the end of the story. For if you make it to the end of the story, maybe you too will survive. Woods are places of magic, places of power that radiate energy." So lots to talk really about with like characterization, setting. I mean, all of those things. And it does, like Marie said in the intro, you don't have to have a dedicated Gothic unit either to use this. So I think y'all would really, really like this one. The Cottage by Cynthia Pelayo.
By Cynthia Pelayo. Don't mind me while I am searching for it while we record.
It's fine.
I am excited. Okay, so my suggestions are more of a supplement probably, but maybe not. So in my American Lit class, my co-teacher and I have decided that we are going to be putting in place of, I don't quite know what we're going to do with it yet, but we want to do a film and television study. And so as I was thinking about Gothic, I mean, I am kind of obsessed with a lot of Gothic, and that's Tim Burton. Like, wouldn't it be cool to do a director and a writer study and look at Tim Burton? You could look at certain episodes of the show Wednesday, which I know is TV 14, so it's a little bit highly rated, but like the new Beetlejuice movie coming out, the first Beetlejuice movie would be great. Edward Scissorhands is great. There are so many of these very interesting American Gothic, and that's just because I teach American Lit, film and television pieces that could be Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, these are all the visual that is then mixed with the audio, that is then mixed with the very highly stylized characters and the storytelling and like the weirdo like dialogue that happens, that's like kind of got feelings of like West Wing almost in the quippiness, but it's Tim Burton and then there's a severed hand walking around, like it's Thing from the Addams Family. So I think that
I think we try to talk about that with authors too, like the signature moves.
Yes, exactly. And being able to see the echoes of something like that's, again, Edgar Allan Poe coming forward, and that like poetic quality also of the visuals, I think is a really cool cognitive stretch for kids to do that sort of analysis. So that is definitely something that I'm going to be bringing into the fold. In fact, I'm probably going to start it early with my Crucible unit, where we're looking at like leaders and decision making and that sort of thing, and just looking at how quickly things can corrupt, because that's really what Tim Burton is showing. He's showing like the seedy underbelly of corruption, and how sometimes what we think is the bad and the villain isn't actually. It's not sometimes, it's almost always in a Tim Burton, like the villain is not the villain. Yeah. I mean, it's all, the Wicked movie that's coming out. I know I'm saying things that are very, very new and probably going to be a little bit difficult to get into a classroom, but you can show trailers, you can show clips. But the movie Wicked is all about the Wicked Witch and like that kind of Gothic side of like, is it really all what we think it is, and what's missing from the story that we're hearing? So.
Well, yeah, and like with humanity, right? It all points back to like, what does Gothic fiction reveal about the human condition? That's a short story kind of unit question that I've used for many, many years. And Gothic fiction is doing a lot more work to reveal more about the reader than about the characters, right? Like that is working on you and your experience reading it so much more than you realize.
Right. Let's talk about like our biases and our prejudice. So, okay. So those are just a few of my suggestions. That's a great short story suggestion from Amanda. And now we are very excited to welcome some friends of the podcast to join us and share some of their fresh Gothic fiction suggestions and ideas. And we hope that you enjoy. All right, friends. We'll see you on the flip side.
Hi there, I'm Samantha Heil from Samantha in Secondary, host of the Creating Joyful Readers podcast. Today, I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite young adult novels and how you can pair it with a classic in order to highlight Gothic fiction in your own classroom. Carrie Maniscalco's Stalking Jack the Ripper is a novel that blends historical fiction with Gothic horror and gives readers a chilling mystery that's hard to put down. Set in Victorian London, the story follows Audrey Rose Wordsworth, a young woman secretly studying forensic medicine under the mentorship of her uncle. As she delves into the gruesome Jack the Ripper murders, Audrey Rose becomes determined to unmask the killer. Stalking Jack the Ripper captures everything we love about Gothic literature. There's the eerie, fog-filled setting of 1880s London, a city where shadows hide more than just secrets. Gothic literature thrives on dark, atmospheric tension, and this book delivers that in spades. It has a brooding mystery, morally gray characters, and a strong sense of the uncanny, classic elements of the genre that pull teens in. But here's the real question: why will teens love this book? First, there's the fierce female protagonist, Audrey Rose. She's intelligent, determined, and unwilling to be confined by society's expectations, a character teens can easily root for. Then there's the pulse-pounding mystery, romantic tension starring the swoon-worthy Mr. Thomas Cresswell, and just the right amount of horror to keep readers on the edge of their seats. Plus, for fans of true crime or history, it reimagines a notorious real-world mystery through a fictional lens. I like to compare Stalking Jack the Ripper to Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Both novels play with the idea of duality, the light and dark sides of human nature. In Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Stevenson examines how one person can be both good and evil, exploring the sinister depths of humanity's darker impulses. In Stalking Jack the Ripper, we're also faced with the idea that evil can be hiding in plain sight. The Ripper is terrifying, not just because of the gruesome murders, but because he could be anyone. As readers, we're reminded that even the people we trust might have darker sides we don't fully understand. This theme of concealed evil is something I think resonates with young readers, especially as they begin to navigate the complexities of human behavior and morality. Technically, Gothic fiction is a subgenre of mystery, as a key element of Gothic literature is the atmosphere of mystery and suspense. Excerpts of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde would make an excellent anchor text, while Stalking Jack the Ripper could be used as a literature circle option. If you want to use the exact unit I taught in my own classroom, you can head to www.samanthainsecondary.com/mystery to check it out. It can be used with both of these texts. Until next time, happy reading.
Hey, I'm Danielle of English Classroom Architect, and I host the podcast Anti-Burnout for English Teachers. Gothic literature helps us explore the unseen, those hidden traumas, anxiety, and societal fears that continue to haunt us. I love pairing classics with modern text and popular culture, which leads me to share this particular pairing, Macbeth by William Shakespeare and Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. So Macbeth is often taught as a tragedy, but in my opinion, its Gothic elements are just as compelling. We've got haunting, psychological horror, and the supernatural. Shakespeare was dabbling in Gothic horror way before it was trendy. We've got witch's prophecy as a Gothic catalyst, that fate versus free will, Lady Macbeth's mental disintegration and the haunting of her conscience, Banquo's ghost as a literal manifestation of guilt and paranoia, and the confinement that drives Lady Macbeth into madness. Similar to Lady Macbeth's struggle, Noemi's journey in Mexican Gothic reveals a different take by adding a layer of colonialism, and it brings us a little closer to the present with the setting of Mexico in the 1950s. In my own classroom, I've been working on a unit pairing these two texts, and it's opening up some really interesting opportunities for discussion. We've got hidden traumas, societal fears, and haunted houses, all things our students are really vibing with. In Mexican Gothic, the setup is the main character, Noemi, is going to check up on her cousin. Her cousin is newly married to a charming Englishman and living in a mining town in the middle of the country in the mountains of Mexico. The twist, though, is that the land she is visiting has been colonized by the British family that her cousin has married into, and that subtle twist drives the action of the novel. The main setting is High House. It is on indigenous burial ground, and the land definitely remembers. As an aside, Mexican Gothic hits on race and eugenics and also holding on to an idealized past, which would be really interesting to pair with The Great Gatsby if that's in your curriculum. And I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but I also think it could really pair well with The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. But back to Macbeth. There are so many parallels. The confinement, the literal hauntings, the descent into madness, but with that added layer of looking at social systems and cultural identity. Additionally, this is a really timely pairing for October since it is Mental Health Awareness Month, but even if you miss October, it's a great opportunity to bring in SEL and explore mental health through that lens of entrapment and unseen forces. Putting these two texts together has got me thinking about how we can use Gothic elements to explore mental health in literature. Lady Macbeth's famous hand-washing scene hits different when you put it next to Noemi's struggle in Mexican Gothic. An activity could be pairing passages to see how mental health is depicted in both texts. But speaking of hand-washing, Mexican Gothic came out in 2020, and our students have a real-world perspective from that year that they can bring to the conversation. Macbeth was likely written during the 1606 epidemic when the plague forced theaters to close for several months. The mental toll illness and quarantine had on us in 2020 and beyond is very relatable. And it's a connection for our students and another way to explore that timeless nature of Shakespeare. If Macbeth is a required text for you, like it is for me, pairing it with Mexican Gothic can be a way to add a fresh perspective and also tap into the popularity of horror and psychological thrillers among our teenagers. And I think that the pairing could be done with some well-placed excerpts from Mexican Gothic, so you don't necessarily need to have students read the entire novel. I hope this sparked some ideas for you, and if you're interested in exploring this pairing further or want to discuss how we can use Gothic elements to address mental health in our classrooms, I'd love to continue the conversation. I'm continuing to dig deeper into this topic on my podcast, Anti-Burnout for English Teachers, this month.
Hello, my name is Ashley Bible from Building Book Love, and I'm going to share a little Gothic literature inspiration with you today. Now, the key word here is little because the two short stories I have to share are super short, as in you can just get by with one double-sided copy. So hopefully that keeps the copy machine scaries away. The first one I have is The Oval Portrait by Edgar Allan Poe. Now, I know that Poe is an old favorite, but I had personally never read his shortest short story until recently, and I did a little poll, and 86% of the English teachers I polled on Instagram had not read it either. But let me tell you, this short story is a Gothic gem. It has a creepy candlelit setting in a chateau in Italy. It has dark romance. It has obsession. It basically has all the things you want in a Gothic literature study in only 2 pages. To give you an overview, but also to leave a little mystery, I will just tell you that this story is about an artist who becomes so obsessed with his work that he fails to see the life around him, and maybe even the life sitting right inside his studio. And since it's so short, it leaves plenty of time to add pairings for even more depth and complexity. There is a cool animated short on YouTube that hits the multiple interpretation standard. And you can even keep the artistic theme going by having students draw a spooky self-portrait with Gothic elements. But if you are looking for a literary pairing or another standalone Gothic short story, then I recommend reading The Feather Pillow by Horacio Quiroga. I think this one is a little bit more well-known, but if you haven't read it yet, then you are going to love its creepy factor. Just like with the oval portrait, it too is really short, but has lots of Gothic elements to analyze like setting, romance, and dark themes. This one is about a young, newlywed woman who becomes deathly ill. And as the title suggests, the answer to her mysterious illness may be found in the feather pillow. So there you have it. Hopefully these are 2 new to you short stories that you can add to your Gothic literature unit. And if you enjoy disturbing teenagers for a living, then you are going to love these. Bye.
All right, friends. If you made it to this point, right, your brain is probably overflowing a bit with ideas, which we completely understand. So,
Totally.
rewind and re-listen as needed so that you can jot down all the notes you need. But also remember that links to as much as we can possibly link will be found on our show notes. So just, head to the description by this episode, head to bravenewteaching.com, and we will have show notes with links for you.
I love it. This episode was so exciting for me. And if you love having tons and tons of ideas, but you're ready to also implement them and kind of zoom into how does this work? Where does this go? You should seriously think about joining us over in Happy Hour. Marie and I have another side of our podcast, which is a monthly membership. But what we really do there that's different than here is that, like I said, we zoom in and we talk much more about the technical side of implementation. We talk more about the what ifs. It's a little bit more zoomed in and really just aimed at helping teachers who are ready to go to the next level.
Yeah, it's the how. Today we gave you a bunch of what, and in Happy Hour we talk about the how. This month we've been talking about in Happy Hour the outsiders. We have a whole unit makeover on how we envision teaching the outsiders with actual teaching resources that can be used and adapted however you need. Next month, we're getting into characterization and looking at characterization and truly character analysis through author's craft. We're trying to really dig into the nitty gritty of things that we know are on our standards, but that sometimes can get lost in, from a teacher's perspective. I get some of these details lost in the whirlwind that is everything. So that's what Happy Hour is there for, is to dig in. Any of these stories here, you could use our characterization strategies that we're talking about next month and do a quick one-off lesson where it's brushing up on skills, an intro. There's so many different ways to do it. And that's what we really talk about, is those different ideas and kind of helping flesh those ideas out.
Yes. And we'd love to throw extra perks your way and things like that too. So we'd love to have you over there. And we're so glad if this is the first time you've listened to Brave New Teaching, maybe somebody sent you this episode for this season. We're so grateful that you're here and we hope that you got lots of new ideas. And next week,
that's what we're here for, man. Yeah.
We're here every Thursday and we're starting a little mini series with some unpopular opinions about lit circles next week. So that'll be fun.
Everybody, watch out. Here we come. Okay, friends, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to Brave New Teaching.
We'd love to keep the conversation going over on Instagram.
And while you're there, check out the links in our bio for the most up-to-date events going on in the Brave New Teaching community.
Thanks for being here and have a great week at school.